Welcome back to Compassion and Company. Today I'm here with Aesha Young. She is a fitness instructor here in Vancouver. So Aesha, tell us a little about yourself.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, like you said, I'm a fitness instructor in Vancouver. Been working in fitness industry for about 5 years. I've kind of switched around from different angles in which I'm doing that in, from the back end to actually coaching, to kind of helping out management in different positions, and through that have kind of gotten more involved in wellness and kind of try and move towards helping people with mental health.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Aesha, we're just going to dive right in, but what is your understanding of self-compassion?
To me, self-compassion and just compassion in general, I think of the word, like the two words I would think of would be empathy and forgiveness. So when I think of self-compassion, I think of forgiveness in actions, mistakes, and everything like that, and kind of having that empathy for yourself, as well as just, acceptance, and like having that acceptance for yourself, and, taking things as it is.
Mm-hmm. So how do you think, how do you practice self-compassion, with that being said?
Honestly, I would say it's more kind of a recent thing for me, that it's really been a focus. And how I would say I practice it is, like I said, it's forgiveness. And that was a lot of it for me. Is I'd say my toughest times were like when I was really hard on myself. So self-compassion was like forgiving myself for mistakes and not like dwelling on those things and letting myself feel my emotions. So when I think of self-compassion, it's just like literally letting myself be and accepting the negatives and the positives of what that is. So practicing that, it's relaxing.
Yeah.
Relaxing, taking it easy on myself mentally.
Yeah. So what might it look like in like a daily setting for you, showing that self-compassion?
I mean, I try to do as much yoga. I was practicing like every day, but life gets busy. I do a lot of that, and just taking time for myself. I journal a lot. I'd write, and I try and just kind of get my thoughts out in that way. In a daily practice, it's kind of hard to say. Like, I don't know if I consciously think about it every day, really. Like, sometimes, like I said, I'm just kind of go.
How do you think you understand self-compassion, maybe when you were growing up?
I don't think that I really ever took the time for myself until really recently. And I would say, like, in high school, and this is, I honestly, during COVID, I had like my own like 4 months of like therapy session just sitting by myself. I was like, had all these times to kind of think about this. So I realized like I never really focused on self-compassion on myself. It was a lot of like compassion for other people. And I think that looking back on it now, I used that, and I still use that as more of a distraction from my own stuff that I need to take care of. So for me, I don't think growing up that was really something I ever thought about. I was like very much trying not to focus on myself stuff. And so I was like, how can I be involved in like everyone else's things? And I was kind of doing that. So growing up, I don't think it was really a second thought there. It's just doing my thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned that fitness has become a really big outlet for you and a way that you show self-compassion. Do you want to expand a little more? Yeah,
so, I mean, all the time growing up, high school and elementary, I hated fitness. Like, I was the person who was like, sorry, I have cramps. Like, I need to walk on the side of gym class. Like, I avoided it at every point I could. And then I got into a car accident my grade 12 year, and that ended up bringing me into like physiotherapy and like a bunch of rehab and stuff that I needed to do for my body, which ended up getting a job at the gym that I was doing all those treatments at. Through that, I started to see how much health and fitness had like an impact on other people's lives. Not so much physically, but mentally. Like, I would hear people come up and be like, oh, like I had such bad anxiety, or I had such bad like depression before, like finding classes and fitness in this outlet. And I was like, oh, like that seems like a good thing. Maybe fitness isn't like so bad. Yeah. So I started doing that because I wanted to, and it's still, for me, it's not really a physical thing. Like I look at it in the mental help, and like I have always had anxiety and everything. So like that, I started working out, and like I immediately felt better, like with my anxiety and everything, and just so that really started helping me just kind of cope with those things. And then through coaching, giving back to those people and trying to give them that same space where I can be that person that they're like, oh, I now have this outlet, and be able to help people in that way.
So you like fostering that within yourself. Absolutely. You're able to give that space for other people too.
Yeah. So that was more it for me. Like I wanted to give back. Like I still, obviously, like there's a physical benefit to working out, but like it's really not ever been my focus, and I don't think that should. I don't think that it shouldn't be your focus, but I think that like there's so much, there's so many bigger things to fitness.
There's a lot
of like the hard bod,
Yeah.
So
the whole like holistic benefit of it.
Exactly.
Too. Like, there's so much that you get from it, and I think that perspective of it being so focused on body aesthetic is kind of a consumerist ideal.
I think it deters a lot of people as well.
Yeah. For sure.
So like trying to have like they're like that's not what I want, even like not even a lot of people are working out to get that certain body that like most people think that you're working out for, right? So it's like there's multiple facets that can be beneficial to you.
So are there any other ways that you show self-compassion for yourself in regards to your mental health?
I smoke weed. That's definitely something that's helped me out in that sense.
That time to decompress, like at the end of the day.
Honestly.
Middle of the day.
Like it's definitely been something that's helped my anxiety for years and everything. So I don't know. I think I'm more recently becoming really, really focused on trying to pay more attention to those things. But I'm pretty good at distracting myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have to like actually actively be like, hey, go pay attention to yourself for a little bit. Like go listen to your head for a little bit, because like otherwise like I'll just go. So I don't know. Still gotta find a little bit more of that practice. I think that I do. Yeah, I think yoga and meditation has been basically my new main thing for that.
Yeah. And you mentioned kind of listening to yourself. So is that another form of self-compassion to you? Just like listening to your body and mind?
Yeah, like I'm very self-reflective, and I think that that's something that is definitely like a form of self-care and like self-compassion, because I think that being able to like reflect and grow is like the biggest gift that you can give to yourself. I don't think that it's like an easy gift. No. Most of the time.
Why do you think that is?
To like look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you're not always like the victim, or like you know, you have faults, and like, you know, looking at your actions as well as like your reactions to things, and like realizing that you are fully in control of everything.
So I'm gonna ask another question. How do you think, as a woman of color, how do you think that's informed the way you understand self-compassion?
So that's a tough question for me, because right now, obviously with everything going on, I'm having to look at like race and color a lot more, and through that I've realized how disconnected I've been to like my black side and my colored side. So I don't really ever think that I was and I wasn't, but I don't think that I was ever really thinking of myself as like as a colored woman necessarily always when it came to that. More so in the past 5 years, yes, but like growing up, I don't really think that it was something that I like thought about. I think that's because of where I grew up and the school I went to, and everything. I kind of had my race minimized a lot. I say that in the sense of like, I had a lot of people be like, oh, like you're you're pretty much white, or like you're barely black. And like that was like what I grew up kind of like,
right.
you know, hearing. And then so from that, I think that I kind of started to believe that. And I minimized my black side. And then like now going through this everything, and I'm like, oh, like I'm such an idiot. I spent like so many years listening to other people, and it's just like not true. So I think like going and trying to think back on how I reflect on things as a woman of color, I don't know if it was really something I had the separation to really think of myself as like in that, and made it different for me. I don't know if that makes sense, if that was a really roundabout way of getting to my answer, but
no.
I don't know. That's my baseline.
But yeah, that internalized idea that like was kind of just like forced on you.
Like I grew up in like an all-white family here too, so it was like I never had a community of black people really at all, and I still don't really. Yeah, like I never really. I like obviously knew that I was black, but like I never really was like, oh, I need to think of different ways of like thinking and everything and doing things, because I wasn't really treated that way. I don't know. Yeah.
And how do you think that's changed for you, like now, through this process?
Now, I mean, this has been for the past while, but like now I love being black, and I like really identify with that. And I think being, when it comes back to self-compassion, I think it's again that forgiveness, because I have a really hard time with the fact, like I said, like I think back and I'm like, that was dumb of me to listen to other people. Like I feel guilty for letting other people, which is like I was pretty much a child at this time. I shouldn't. And like having that second thought, being like, you were a child, you should not feel that way. Like it was other people, and like now I'm having those realizations, and so it just kind of like giving myself that space to allow those reflections, and you know, not be so hard on myself for wasting time on other people's thoughts, because that's what I get frustrated with. I get frustrated when I let other people control my thoughts for too long. I'm like, girl, this is on you. So started to I forgiveness and everything, and taking back my power from other people, and that
kind of like resurgence, right? And do you think that that's helped you with showing other people compassion? Yeah. Yep,
100%. I mean, I think that I've always kind of been a pretty compassionate person, because I am very aware of like other people's feelings. Like I'm like, I think I'm maybe hypersensitive to other people's feelings. So I really try and put myself in other people's shoes, and I always have. So I've been quite compassionate.
How do you think self-compassion has changed for you before, post, and like during COVID?
Yeah. Definitely has changed a lot. I think that I feel selfish in saying this, but I definitely think that I came out of COVID and quarantine a lot better than when I went into it. I think that it was like, I was at a period in my life where I was like so burnt out, and I was like so overwhelmed with so many things. And I kept being like, I just feel like I need a week or like a few days where I can just like turn my phone off, be away from everyone, and just like think. And then and then that got forced upon me for months. So sorry, everyone. Manifested that. But, you know, and so I went into it, and so now I, like I said, lived with anxiety, and I think that like through this, I've been the least anxious I've been in like years. And I think that that's like, it's kind of because I think that everyone else and like the world collectively is at the same place that my head is like usually at, level of like chaos. And like I'm like, oh, you guys are finally like on my playing field. Like I don't feel so like stressed out, because like everyone's like that now. Like cool. and it's also like, you know, I have anxiety is like you're anxious and you're worried about the future and everything, and like I literally cannot be at this point. I can't be. I don't know what no one knows, you know. So now I'm like, it kind of made me realized that like everyone's collectively doesn't know what's going on, and like I think that made me kind of feel better.
Yeah, there's probably a weird sense of solidarity in there, you know.
Like just like anxiety gangs, like cool, like you guys are like welcome.
Been here for a while.
Yeah. So and like obviously I say that with well knowing that there's a lot of people who are not, this did not benefit, and I have a lot of privilege in saying that, and I'm well aware of that. But yeah, like I think that this time with compassion with myself, I started to really focus on, and I found the things that I actually enjoy. And I started thinking about like when it comes to like careers and everything, and like realized how like much more important it is for me to just be happy than like quite literally anything else. Like I have never been a money driven person. I should probably be a little bit more money driven, but like it's never really been my motivator. It's always been my motivator's always been happiness and finding a passion. I think that's something that my mom always like instilled in me growing up. Like she's very much been a support in the way that she's like, you could want to pick up garbage off the street for your life and your living, and if that were to be what makes you happy, I will be there cheering you on the street. Like, you know, so she kind of took the money pressure off of me for that, and I think that that's been able to give me a focus on happiness. But I think that I lost that for a few years. I think that I was doing a lot of things for a lot of other people for like 5 years of my life, and so I wasn't really doing anything for myself, and so that happiness drive like was gone. I was just coasting. Like I was just doing. And so through quarantine and COVID, I had to do stuff all day. Like I had to focus, because like I was like, what am I going to sit here for 12 hours and like just stare at a wall? And so like I was like, I'm going to start doing all the things that I was like, I really wish I had time to do all these things. And I actually started that, and I realized how much happier I was focusing on myself and doing those things and slowing down a little bit. And that's like even just like things like reading and cooking and yoga, and you know, like there's just music. I was, you know, getting back into focusing. Like I just like making playlists and whatever, just like little things. I started refocusing back on my happiness a little bit, and like kind of being a little bit more selfish with my time, and yeah, bringing that focus back. And now I feel like I'm at that point where I'm like, I have a focus again, and like I know, like I don't feel so just like coasty and like I was just floating by. Now I'm going somewhere with that.
Yeah.
Trying.
Yeah.
Trying. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So yeah, a big thing for you, it seems like, is just connecting to who you are and your passions and creating happiness. So that's for you, self-compassion.
Exactly. Yeah, I try, you know, like I just think there's a lot of things in life, but I just think that like there's going to be ups and downs. If I have a stable thing like of my happiness with myself, those ups and downs won't be so deep, you know. Having that middle ground.
Yeah. Do you want to expand more on that? Like, what do you mean by ups and downs?
I think that, yeah, like shitty things in life are inevitable, and great things in life are going to happen as well. And I think that like, you know, those highs and lows won't be so extreme if like you have like a solid midline, and like you can always come back to that. Like, and I think, like I said, letting yourself feel those highs and lows is really important. And I don't think that you should ever not, like I will kind of like, I used to very much be like a number and not let myself feel those things. Now I'll like sit in my sadness or my anger for a little bit. But you know, I come back to that baseline. I come back to that you know, that spot where I feel more solid, and I know that's me, because like I'm now feeling more solid in myself as a person. So those waves and those things don't it'll happen, but it's not going to be, I'm not going to be stuck there, and it's not going to throw me off my path.
And for you, that's been able to come out in your work as a fitness coach. Do you want to talk a little more about that?
Yeah. When it comes to fitness, I think that so much of like when I was coming into it, like I said again, I was doing things for other people, and I was like I saw how the coaches around me acted. I saw how like the people on Instagram and the fitness community acted, and I was like, that's what I wanted, but a lot of it wasn't me. And I think that brings that back to finding, like, there was a lot in the beginning of when I was in my fitness career where I was trying to fit that into that mold. And I was like, it's just not my thing. And like, and again, coming back to that spot, this is me, gotta come back to that. And I think that now that I found that spot and I'm starting to find my identity more in that, I'm actually able to like build off me and have like my own brand and everything like that. Now I know what I want to do with fitness and like where it stands, and I'm not like trying to be a Vancouver fitness community of what that mold is. I'm trying to be Aesha in the Vancouver fitness community.
Awesome,
and stand out in that way.
Yeah.
Which I think is starting to work for me. So
yeah, totally.
I think it's still very new to it all, but
yeah.
It's an interesting community. Has its ups and downs, of course, as well. But I think at the baseline, it's a community that gives back, and that's what I was looking for. So weirdly found me.
Yeah.
My gym teachers apparently had a good laugh about that one. I ran into one of them because she was like, "Oh, really? You're in fitness now. That's interesting." And I was like, "Yeah, well, how the tables have turned."
Yeah.
So yeah,
full circle.
Just took a little bit.
Yeah.
Just took a car accident, not being able to move.
Wow. But that seems like a pretty significant point in your life, which really turned you towards that self-compassion. That must have been hard, but
yeah, it was a slow process.
Yeah.
And you know, like when I first got into my car accident, like I wasn't really injured or anything. It took me a little bit too, but I got to the point where I was like, I would go out, and this was when I was like going through my partying phase, and I would go out to clubs with my friends, and we'd go out dancing, and I like would not be able to move in the morning, not from hangovers, but because like my back was messed up, and I was like, I am 19 years old and I cannot dance. I was like, I'm trying to drop it low and I can't even move. So it was like just getting to that point where I was like, I think I was being told what not to do, and not by anyone, but by like my body was saying, you can't do this, and I was like, I don't like that. I don't like being told what to do. So I had to take that control back into myself. So
yeah. And for you, was that taking that control back like self-compassion?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I thought of it at the time, but like looking back at it now, I definitely think it was. I was starting to pay attention to my body. I was starting to like, you know, like listen to myself and what my body needed and what my mind needed, because it helped my anxiety incredibly as well, like right away. So it definitely was a form of self-compassion. Yeah.
How do you think growing up in West Vancouver informed the way you understand self-compassion?
I don't know. I think growing up in West Van is like such a whole weird thing. Like I could talk about that for an hour, just on its own. But growing up in like West Van and the community here now, I don't think that. I think that it didn't really affect me necessarily, but I think as a whole, I see how a lot of my friends were affected by it more in like their family. I'm trying to like tiptoe around the way I'm wording this. No. Like I saw a lot of it impact a lot of my friends from their families. I would say like I said, my mom was very like she's you know, like I would go out and you know, like everyone would be in high school and like you're like, don't call my mom, and everyone would say that, and I would be like right away be like, just call my mom, I'll call my mom to come pick me up. And so it's like kind of seeing like that contrast, but like to a way more extreme level when it comes to like emotional things and like compassion and like expressing that. I know from a lot of my friends and a lot of their families, I don't think that was really something that was like, as a whole community here, I don't think that that's something that people will do as much. I think a lot of people don't ever want to not be okay or ever want to like show weakness in West Van, and I think that there's a lot of image protection, and I think that within that I think that within like trying to protect your like how you look and everything and show face, like you can't show that you're weakness or you need trouble or like you're in trouble, you need help. And so like that's, you don't reach out to anyone. And I think that that's like, internalizes in a lot of different ways. Like
Totally.
I think that like where we grew up, there's so many like mental health issues and like so many different situations, and like I didn't really realize how concentrated that was to West Van and like just I mean Vancouver in general, but especially West Van, until I've met a lot of people outside of here. Started growing that, and people were like, wow, that's a lot, like your friends and families like all went through a lot. And I was like, yeah, didn't yours? And I was like, no, like obviously families go through stuff, but I feel like it's very like, I think that is because there's not a lot of self-compassion. I don't think that there's a lot of that reflection, a lot of that empathy for yourself.
Yeah, and if you can't have empathy for yourself, how do you have empathy for others?
I don't think that it happens a lot for others here too.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like as a whole super empathetic, because I don't think that there's a lot of stepping outside of your own shoes.
And the part too about protecting face and upholding whatever narrative or like self idea that people kind of are put into like those boxes. Like it's definitely, there's a lot of restrictions around how you act, who you are, like the type of person that lives here. So
and I think that that's even shown a lot through right now, these times right now with like the Black Lives Matter movement and everything like that. And I think that that's very much like the show face kind of thing. And like everyone's very scared here to say anything. I think I've seen that a lot. Like I had 2 different Instagrams, right? Like I have my fitness Instagram and I have my personal Instagram that I've had for forever. The difference in those 2 in the posts and just like the whole everything about it is like I just deleted my personal Instagram like 2 days ago. I was like oh, so I gotta get out of here for a little bit during this. It's very different, and like you don't realize being in it. Like, you know, I didn't really
can you identify some of those differences?
I think a lot of like when I see like the people that I grew up with, I think I see a lot of performative action, but I think that that's a lot everywhere at the moment. But I see like a lot of like I can see a lot of people are scared to say anything because of their families. Is like really it, and I think that there's such like a strong hold to family dynamics, and like you can't talk back against not like talk back, but like you can't disagree to a certain extent with like your family members because it's such like an important well, especially those values around nuclear family setups. You know, it's like the whole hierarchy of it, and especially in West Van, like I feel like we can say there is money in that, and like there's money and certain morals and values, like traditional values that have been passed down. And I think people are probably, like you said, they're intimidated to whatever. Like start those conversations in those households, but that's my whole thing is like I think that's kind of what like angered me. It was like I see a lot of people posting being like, what can I do, or like how can I help and stuff, but I'm like, go talk to your racist family. and like I'm like, I just think about it in the sense of like go talk, like the companies that the families here own and everything like that are like massive. I'm like, you know, go have a conversation. What are they doing? And I think that like, you know, like if you're looking for something bigger, it's like right in your home. So like I got kind of frustrated with that because I was like, you know what to do. You got to have the tough part, not the, you know. But it's that safe face kind of thing. It's that fear. But I think that it's a whole. I don't think it's intentional. And I don't really I don't necessarily blame anyone for being in that. A lot of it's just put in your mind that way, and it's just how you grew up, right? And how have you just shown your self-compassion during all of this? Because, you know, having people come up to you and like ask you those questions of like how to be an ally or what to do, like that seems like that would be a lot on you. And It definitely has been. I think that what I like showed my compassion to myself the most was like being a little bit selfish during it, and like if I didn't feel like responding to something, not responding, or if I didn't feel like answering a call during it, or like you know, like answering questions, I just wouldn't, which is something that I don't usually do. I feel a lot of like guilt when I can't even like ignore text messages. Like I feel bad. I'm a very guilty person. Like I get like I'm like like my conscience gets so heavy with like stupid little things. I just don't like being shitty. And so like if I took like a few days not being anxious about not responding, and I also think that I had to show myself a lot of compassion, and like the first few weeks I was angry, like I was like mad. It was just like I was so mad at everyone and everything because I was just seeing so much like stupid stuff, and like taking the time to like step back from that anger and being like, listen, like people don't know what to do, and like some of it's rightfully I was annoyed with, but like a lot of it's like just because like I think way deeper about things, it doesn't like other people don't necessarily see it that way, and I think I put too much like pressure on other people to like see and think the way that I did about things, and I was like, okay, not everyone's gonna find that like have that light bulb click on as fast as I did, and like giving other people the space to figure it out on their own, and like just like I don't know, taking the pressure off other people, and like not putting so much faith in them, and a really high expectation for a lot of people, and like I kept getting myself disappointed in that. But it was also like I don't think that I realized that people didn't know how racist the world was. I think that's something that's really shocking to me. Like I hear a lot of people being like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that like the Black community is treated like this, and I'm like, really? I'm like, I actually thought that most people knew that this was like going on, so it's kind of shocking to me, and I don't know if that's ignorant of me, but like I expect everyone to have the same opinion as me too. Like so when I'm like talking to people that I've been friends with and they have a different opinion than me, I'm not offended, but I'm like surprised. I'm like, oh shit, like you don't like I totally like thought that that's how you thought, right? So yeah, I don't know, just taking things not so personally.
And that's really big
hard
of
not
you.
to.
Well, yeah, I think I imagine it would be really hard not to.
Yeah.
And you talked about that anger, and like to me, just sitting here, like that seems like righteous anger.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you would identify it, but
no, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think that I could have continued to have been that mad, and it would have been, but I think it was taking a lot of my energy.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I don't think that like me and my little sister, she's also Black as well. She's me and my little sister, we were like, I haven't thought about anything else for like 2 weeks, like not even like a passing thought, I don't think. Like we were literally like in the news, reading articles, signing papers, like you know, petitions, and like we were so consumed by it that it's like we were literally going to sleep and like dreaming about like all this stuff, and like it was just like we were overthinking, like we were having these conversations where like, you know, like I'm walking down the street, and if I make eye contact with someone, I'm thinking like, are they seeing me as like so Black right now? And like, because like, and I was we were talking, and we were like, I'm like rethinking all of our friendships. I'm like, is that person racist? Like, is that what this post means? Or like, are they not posting anything because they think it's like all lives matter? Yeah. And I'm like, and so it was just like, it was so consuming. Like, it was so like, I was like, oh my God. Like, and then I was like, I think that I told myself for so long, and I would say it out loud, I hadn't really been faced with racism. I used to say that all the time. And like, then I was like mad because I was like, why would I say that? Like, I've like faced so much racism. It just wasn't someone calling me the N-word to my face. And like, for some reason, I justified all of that other stuff because it wasn't that. And like, yeah, like we were reassessing everything. Like I was having all these like just experiences I had in high school and elementary school, just conversations, like work things. And it was just like, I'd be like falling asleep and I'd like wake up and be like, that was racist. Wait. And I was like, that was 8 years ago. But I was like, that was because I was black. And I was like, you know, like, and it was just so consuming that I had to kind of slow down from it. Like, it was just like, I mean, it's still very much like a lot of what I think about right now. But I had to kind of give myself that little relaxation space, I guess, and accept everyone's trying to figure it out too. It's a lot of like awakenings this year.
2020 has been a year.
I know. I keep people.
It's been like 10 years in one
literally.
year.
People keep saying like, "Oh yeah, well, we always used to joke about how we all had 2020 vision, but we couldn't see anything coming." And it's like, I still think that like that saying could still stand in a different way. I think we're all seeing things now. Now we like legit have 2020 vision because like our eyes are open. Yeah, we're seeing it all now. Like everything's being exposed. I think we got 2020 vision just in a whole different way that we expected it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and especially too with like they say like the age of information.
Yeah,
like how can you not see?
No, everything. It's constant.
Yeah.
I know. It's like, it's funny because like TikTok has become like my most raw source of news lately.
Hasn't that been interesting?
Like I was so against it before. Like I was like, I don't want to do freaking Renegade, and then and now I like watch it and I'm like, well, now I need to go see the news and what's really happening. I need to go to the real source, which is TikTok.
Yeah.
So it's like in between all the like woes, there's also like protests and things that are like I'm learning things from this platform. It's very interesting.
It is, and I mean,
it's unfiltered.
Yeah, it's unfiltered as well. Like, it's reaching younger audiences, which is super cool.
Yeah.
I think, like, whatever Gen Z or the other generations behind, like, they are just way more just educated than I think we would have been at that age.
Totally.
I mean, we still had, like, a lot of information and, like, had access to that, but not, like...
We weren't like social justice warriors in the same way either. Like, and I think that a lot of us are now, but like
totally
not when we were 14.
It's a total shift too. It's been really interesting, like seeing with especially Black Lives Matter. Like it is everywhere, and it is amazing. Like I was at my mom's house like yesterday, and we were just watching the news, and like that's all it is. We were watching a talk show. That's all it was. Like it's every single conversation.
And that's why when I hear some people being like, well, this isn't like as much is this is not the first time that this has happened. This is not the first time riots has happened or protests have happened or anything. This is the first time it's been like so like in your face and like being paid attention on such a massive scale. Like this, like you said, is worldwide. Like everyone is involved in this. So I'm like, there's so much like ability for change right now. Like, and like I see it in a really positive way. I really do believe with like this time, I think we could only come out of it better. Unless we like we only come out of it better or like way worse. Like there's or like way worse, which I would hope would not happen. But it's like I don't really see like, so as much as this is all awful, I think it's necessary. I think this all has to happen right now.
Yeah,
I think that this is like the year that the world kind of needed a little bit. Everything's being changed at the moment. But
how do you think living in Vancouver has shaped the way you just practice self-compassion?
Growing up, I don't think I did. So I think that my self-compassion was so focused on, I was so focused on other people. I was like, I think that was it. Like, I didn't think that self-compassion was a thing for me growing up. And like, like it just, I don't know, it wasn't important. And I think that that's why like we kind of grew up in like similar friend groups and everything. I think that like within everyone that we knew, there's like so many like mental health issues and like lots of like things that happened, and I think that that's like that shows how little self-compassion was going on here, because like it was never talked about. I've never really cared what people think.
Wow.
I definitely have, but like I've always, like, when it comes to, like, looks and everything, like, I've literally been like, I can't change that. Like, unless I can change it, I'm like, I can't be too like hard on myself. And so, like, I know I used to say this to my friend group in high school, and it was always like a really controversial conversation, but it was when we would talk about bullying, and I would say that I didn't really think that anti-bullying was gonna ever happen. And the reason that I think kids are always gonna be mean, and I think the kids are always gonna, like, bully each other, but, like, the fight and the way that we do anti-bullying now is, like, stopping the meanness. I think that that's always gonna happen, and I've always wanted to, like, have people see it on the other side of, like, everyone is so confident in themselves, like, that bullying and stuff can't affect you. And, like, that's, like, I think, like, that's why, like, for me, like, it's easier said than done, obviously, because I was able to, like, feel that way. But, like, I've had people say things to me, like, my whole life, but it's like, if you don't believe that about yourself, it can't affect you. So I've always, like, wanted to, like, go back and look at things and being like, kids are mean, people are awful to each other. That's gonna happen. I want everyone to be so in love with themselves that it doesn't affect them. And, like, you know, like, and then so I'm always like, I wish everyone could feel that way, that they don't get affected by what other people say. So I was like, if we build up that, like, mental health and that stuff beforehand, or, like, right as kids, and you grow that confidence, then those kids that are gonna come and be mean to you and do that, they're still gonna do that. Like, it's gonna happen in, like, from childhood to adulthood. And I think that having, like, that, again, back to that stability and that core, like, you can't be shaken then at that point. And I've always just wanted that kind of to be, so I was like, like, anti-bullying, I'm obviously against bullying, but I want it to be built in a different way, because we can't stop people from being mean. I don't think that's realistic, but I think that we can stop people from getting hurt by that as much, at least. If that makes sense. Again, my roundabout.
No, totally. I like that kind of, like, setting those boundaries and having the rest of the space be self-love. It's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, because I'm like,
just fostering that, and then once you have, you know, that understanding of who you are, what do those things really mean then? You know, how can they really hurt you? I mean, just from experience, I feel like I haven't met a lot of people that are that tough and are able to kind of be like, no, this is who I am, and, like, those things, those external things aren't gonna impact me and make me different.
Well, I don't know. I think I've been through, like, a lot of tough stuff in my life, and it all, like, my whole thing is, like, I have this little tattoo actually that I got last year. It says soften, and the reason I got that is because I always try to continue to soften, even when, like, being hardened and, like, closing off seems like the easiest thing. That I continue to soften, keep my heart soft, and, like, not let others' actions change who I am as a person. So, like, other people can mistreat me, but I'm not going to let that be my reflection and go and put that out towards other people. So I continue to soften, because, like, I had done it in the past a lot where I would just harden off, and, like, that was when I think I was like I was a mean bitch, not a nice bitch then. And so, like, within that, like, I had to learn that, like, that only affected me then. Like, after that, like, if someone mistreats me and then I go and mistreat myself, that only affects me. That person walks away, they already did their thing. And just continuing to soften and hold that spot and still have love for people and not take other people's actions out on others or myself.
Wow. So, as a closing question, how has self-compassion from this conversation changed or not changed for you?
I would say, I think it more opened my eyes to how new this is to me and how much, I guess, that I've kind of grown in the past, especially the past year, but even throughout this, and realizing that like I didn't really used to take care of myself in the way that I do now, and how much that's helped myself. And I guess I've also kind of realized that I'm stronger than I give myself credit for. Yeah. I hear other people say it to me, and I'm like, yeah. I don't know, but I say that out loud so that I can give myself credit for it, even if I don't fully believe it. But yeah,
affirmation.
Yeah.
Well, Aesha, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
you for being vulnerable, but also bringing like all sides of yourself.
Can't not.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe I should filter that out, but I'm bad at not coming on 100%.
No, and it's authentic, and that's, I think, what this platform is for, and at least it's what I want it to be.
Thank you for giving me that space.
Quick shout out to Foo Babe. This is a local artist that we picked up this week, so thank you very much, and we'll have his Instagram handle down below. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Another great session. Thank you again, Aesha, and talk to you guys next week.